There comes a time in every man's life, a moment so dark, so heavy with uncertainty, that he begins to question everything, his decisions, his timing, even his own worth. And in that hour, if he listens closely, not to the noise of doubt, not to the clamor of fear, but to the whisper within, he will hear something sacred, something unwavering, something eternal. That voice is God. And that voice never fails. You see, men fail, plans fail, even the strongest minds crumble, but God, he never fails, he cannot, it is not in his nature, his word is law. His promises are not merely suggestions, they are guarantees backed by divine authority. When he speaks, the universe bends to obey, mountains move, oceans split, graves open, light bursts through the darkest veil. But here is the tragedy. Most people stop believing the moment things don't go their way. They confuse divine timing with human delay. They mistake temporary discomfort for permanent defeat. They walk away right when God was about to act. Right when the miracle was coming over the hill, they turned around and said, "It must not be meant to be," and so they miss it. They miss the breakthrough, they miss the healing, they miss the elevation because they forgot that God does not operate on our clock. He created time but is not confined by it. Let me tell you this, when you're walking through the fire and everything in you wants to give up, that's when you hold on tighter, not because you're strong, but because the one who holds you is. You're not expected to carry the weight of the world. God already has, and he never dropped it. He never said the journey would be easy, but he promised that you would make it. He never said there wouldn't be pain, but he did say that joy comes in the morning. He never said the storm wouldn't rage, but he promised to calm it, not in your way, not in your time, but in his, and that's always perfect. You may be looking at your life right now wondering why things haven't worked out. You may be standing in the ruins of a broken relationship, a failed business, a shattered dream. You may be tired of praying, tired of believing, tired of hoping. You may be thinking, where is God in all this? I'll tell you where he is. He's right there, closer than your breath, watching, measuring, weighing every moment of your pain with the scale of eternity, and orchestrating the details of a comeback so magnificent, you won't even remember the struggle that preceded it. You think God has forgotten you because you don't see the result, but seeds don't grow in the sunlight. They grow in the dark, beneath the soil, beneath the surface, unseen by human eyes. That's where the miracle begins. Your blessing is being built in silence. When you understand that God never fails, you stop panicking. You stop chasing people for validation. You stop measuring your life by what others have. You become rooted, not in circumstances, but in truth. And the truth is, if God has called you, nothing can uncall you. If God has opened a door, no man can shut it. If God has chosen to bless you, not even your enemies can curse you. Your only job is to trust him, not halfway, not just on Sundays, but all the way. Trust him when it hurts. Trust him when it's quiet. Trust him when the bills are stacked. Trust him when friends turn their backs. Trust him when your mind screams, it's over, and he whispers, I'm just getting started. You see, some of the greatest victories in life come right after the most painful defeats, because that's when your pride is stripped. That's when your ego is gone. That's when you finally let God take the wheel, and when he drives, he doesn't just take you to a destination. He elevates you beyond what you ever thought possible. The devil wants you to believe that it's too late, that you've messed up too many times, that you're not worthy, but the devil is a liar. God doesn't consult your past to decide your future. He doesn't need your perfection. He needs your permission, permission to work, permission to move, permission to lead. You might have grown up in lack. You might have been abandoned, betrayed, overlooked, but let me assure you, God saw every tear. He counted every sleepless night, and none of it was wasted. He will use everything, yes, even the pain, to bless you, to shape you, to equip you, to prepare you for the platform he's building, and when that moment comes, and it will, you won't be able to explain it. Because it won't make sense how you came from the bottom and rose to the top, how you were rejected but now celebrated, how you were overlooked but now chosen. That's when people will know this wasn't luck. This was God. The danger is in the waiting. That's where faith is tested. That's where men are separated from boys, champions from cowards, believers from spectators. Everyone can shout when the walls fall, but can you march in silence for 7 days with no sign of progress and still believe the walls will fall? God's process often feels like punishment, but it's really preparation. He's building your patience, stretching your faith, refining your character. He's getting the you ready who can handle the blessing coming. If he gave it to you now, you might destroy it. You might get arrogant. You might forget who gave it to you. But when you've been through the fire and stayed faithful, the blessing won't just be a gift. It will be a testimony, a trophy of endurance, and when people ask, "How did you make it?" you'll be able to say with conviction, "God never fails." Not once in the history of mankind has God ever failed, and he's not about to start with you. He brought Abraham a child when it looked impossible. He brought Joseph out of the pit and into the palace. He parted the sea for Moses, shut the lions' mouths for Daniel. He brought dead bones to life. He turned water into wine. He raised the dead. And if he did it before, he can do it again. But will you believe? Will you believe when it's uncomfortable? Will you believe when the bank account is empty? Will you believe when the doctor gives a bad report? Will you believe when the enemy whispers lies and the world throws doubt in your face? Because that's when faith counts, not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when the sun is shining, but when the night is long and cold. That's where warriors are born, in the dark, in the silence, in the suffering, in the stretching, and if you will stand firm and say, "God, I trust you, even now, especially now," you will see what only the faithful see. You will see the miracle. You will witness the breakthrough. You will walk into rooms you never thought you belonged in. You will inherit blessings you didn't even pray for, because that's who God is. He's a multiplier, a restorer, a redeemer, so don't quit, don't cave in. Don't count yourself out. Don't believe the lies. Don't judge your story by one chapter. Don't let a season of pain define a lifetime of purpose. Keep walking, keep praying, keep believing, keep praising. Keep sowing, keep trusting. God is not done. He's just getting started. And through every storm, every battle, every test, every trial, he remains the same, steady, sure, sovereign, and victorious, because God never fails. And even as the winds howl and the night grows long, those who trust in him are not shaken. They are anchored, anchored in a promise that will not break, anchored in a truth that does not sway, anchored in the knowledge that what God said, he will do. And when the world looks at you and wonders how you're still standing, how you're still hopeful, how you're still smiling through the storm, it will be your unwavering faith that speaks the loudest. You are not still here by accident. You didn't survive by luck. The odds were against you, the critics were loud, the path was rough. But something kept pushing you forward, that something is divine, that something is the hand of God. You didn't always recognize it, you didn't always feel it, but it never left you. It covered you, it protected you, it sustained you. Some of the things you prayed for never came, and you thought that was God failing you. But in hindsight, you'll come to see it was him saving you. Because not everything you ask for aligns with your destiny. Not every door you wanted opened was meant for you to walk through. Some rejections were divine redirections. Some delays were necessary developments. Some endings were sacred beginnings, and once you embrace that, once you start seeing life through the eyes of eternity, you stop panicking when things don't go your way, because you realize it's not your way that matters. It's his, and his way leads to life. His way leads to peace. His way leads to purpose. You begin to understand that favor is not about comfort, it's about calling, and calling comes with cost. It comes with isolation, with discipline, with tests that feel unfair, seasons that feel unbearable. But every step is worth it. Every moment builds you, every hardship shapes you, and let me tell you something vital. The people who make the most noise aren't always the ones who make the most impact. You don't have to scream your worth. You don't have to beg for attention. You just have to walk in your assignment, stay in alignment with what God gave you, because He never asked you to be the loudest. He asked you to be the faithful, faithful with the little, faithful in obscurity, faithful when nobody's watching, faithful when your name isn't called, because that's when God is watching the most. He watches how you treat others when you have nothing to gain. He watches how you handle the wilderness, not just the promised land, and when He sees that you're ready, not when you think you're ready, but when He knows you are. That's when things change, instantly, dramatically, miraculously. People will ask where you came from. They won't understand how you went from overlooked to in demand, from forgotten to favored, but you'll know it was the long nights, the quiet prayers, the silent battles, the tears nobody saw, the sacrifices nobody praised. You'll know it was God, and what He does for you, He will do through you, because blessings were never meant to stop at you. They are meant to flow through you. That's why He needs to trust you with them. Can He trust you to stay humble? Can He trust you to lift others up when He lifts you up? Can He trust you to shine light, not cast shadows? It's not about what you get. It's about what you give. And what you give is often what qualifies you to receive more. That's how God works. He doesn't just measure talent. He measures heart. He doesn't just elevate skill. He elevates spirit. You don't have to be perfect, just available. You don't have to know the whole plan, just say yes to the next step. Because when you move in faith, heaven moves with you. When you speak life, you partner with the creator of it. When you obey without having all the answers, you're telling God, I trust you more than I trust my understanding. And that is when doors swing open. That is when connections happen you couldn't have forced. That is when healing comes you didn't expect. That is when your name is spoken in rooms you've never entered, because heaven put it on someone's heart. That is when the impossible becomes normal. That is when grace begins to outrun guilt, and you realize something powerful, that nothing you've been through was wasted, not the failure, not the heartbreak, not the betrayal, not the sleepless nights. All of it was training, all of it was preparation, all of it was woven into a story only God could write. But understand this, the same way He's for you, the enemy is against you. And the closer you get to your calling, the more resistance you'll feel, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. Hell doesn't fight what isn't a threat. So if you're under attack, under pressure, under stress, don't retreat, rejoice. Because the enemy doesn't come to empty houses. He comes where there is something valuable inside. You are carrying something precious, something powerful, something divine, and that's exactly why you must protect it. Protect your mind, protect your peace, protect your focus, protect your assignment, because distraction is the enemy of destiny, and confusion is the weapon of fear. But clarity, spiritual clarity, comes when you shut out the noise and lean into the voice that has never failed you. That voice that told you to keep going when you were empty. That voice that reminded you who you were when you felt lost. That voice that spoke identity into your bones when the world tried to label you broken. That voice is truth, and truth doesn't shake. Truth doesn't change. Truth is not popular, but it is powerful, and when you walk in it, when you speak it, believe it, live it, there is nothing man can do to stop you. Because man didn't call you, God did, and if He called you, He will equip you. If He brought you this far, He will not leave you now. If He planted the seed, He will bring the harvest. But the question remains, will you stay the course? Will you praise Him when the outcome is unclear? Will you serve even when you feel forgotten? Will you love when it's not reciprocated? Will you lead when no one claps? Will you believe when no one else does? Because that's what faith looks like. It's gritty. It's raw. It's not always poetic. It's often painful, but it's real, and real faith moves heaven. Real faith shifts atmospheres. Real faith builds legacies. Real faith births miracles, and this moment you're in right now, could be the turning point. This could be the test before the testimony. the tension before the transition, the chapter that proves you didn't break when the pressure came, the season that confirms you were built for more, not just to survive, but to conquer, then rise up from the ashes of what was and step into the fire of what is becoming, because your story is not over. Your name has not been erased, your future has not been canceled. In fact, it's being written in real time by the author who never makes mistakes, and he is not writing a tragedy, he is crafting a triumph. One line at a time, one act of faith at a time, one yes at a time. The more you walk with him, the more you'll see. God is not trying to punish you. He is trying to position you for purpose, for greatness, for legacy. He is removing what cannot go with you. He is pruning what cannot produce fruit. And though the process is painful, the outcome is glorious. You're not waiting on God. He's waiting on you, waiting for you to align, to trust, to surrender, to say, have your way. Because when you finally let go of your limited logic and grab hold of divine wisdom, that's when things begin to move that were stuck for years. That's when cycles break. That's when patterns shift. That's when curses are reversed and blessings released. But don't expect everyone to understand it. Don't expect applause. When God begins to elevate you, it will expose those who were never for you. It will reveal who only loved the version of you that stayed small, stayed silent, stayed safe. But you weren't born to be hidden. You weren't designed to blend in. There's a fire in you that was meant to be seen, a message in you that was meant to be heard, a light in you that cannot be dimmed. And no, you don't have all the answers, you don't have it all figured out, but God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the cold. He takes the overlooked and gives them vision. He takes the broken and gives them authority. He takes the ordinary and does the extraordinary. So stop disqualifying yourself from what he already declared over you. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to doubt. This is not the time to entertain voices that contradict what God has said about you. You are chosen, you are anointed, you are equipped. And what you carry, your calling, your gift, your story, is not just for you, it's for others. Your obedience could be someone else's breakthrough. That's why you felt the weight. That's why you've walked through the fire. That's why the enemy has been after you since the beginning. Because he knew. He knew if you ever figured out who you are and whose you are, he couldn't stop you. He couldn't contain you. He couldn't silence you. So now is the time to rise, time to believe again, time to speak boldly, time to move forward, time to stop asking for permission from people who didn't create your purpose, time to walk like the child of God you are. Time to step into the promise that's already yours, because you're not fighting for victory. You're fighting from it. It's already finished, already won, and yes, you'll still face trials, but you'll face them with peace. Yes, storms will come, but they won't shake you, not because you're unbreakable, but because you're anchored in grace, anchored in truth, anchored in the one who walks on water and speaks to wind. Every moment you choose faith over fear, every time you choose prayer over panic, every time you choose purpose over popularity, you are aligning with the kingdom. You are stepping into divine rhythm. And that rhythm cannot be broken by what surrounds you, because it comes from within you, planted by the Spirit, fueled by heaven. So don't just exist live, don't just breathe, build, don't just wait, walk. Even if you can't see the whole path, take the step. Even if your voice shakes, speak. Even if the odds seem impossible, believe, because you are not walking alone, you are not fighting alone, you are not building alone. Heaven backs you, heaven surrounds you, heaven celebrates you when man overlooks you. Keep showing up, keep showing love, keep doing good, keep choosing integrity when compromise would be easier. Keep saying yes to the small things, because those small yesies create a ripple that will turn into a wave that will touch generations. What if your obedience today sets the next 10 years of your life into motion? What if the thing you're resisting is the very thing that would unlock your next season? What if your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of the battle you've been avoiding? God doesn't need a crowd to move. He needs a committed heart. One heart, one voice, one surrendered soul, that's all it takes. That's all he's ever needed. David didn't have an army. He had a slingshot and faith. Esther didn't have experience. She had favor. Moses didn't have eloquence. He had obedience. And Jesus didn't have status. He had authority. So what do you have? Whatever it is, give it to him. Place it in his hands. Watch what he does with a life fully surrendered. He won't just bless it. He will multiply it. He won't just redeem it. He will use it to restore others, because God never does anything halfway. He never starts what he doesn't finish. He never invests in what he doesn't intend to elevate. You are not random. You are not an accident. You were born for this time, for this season, for this assignment, and everything you've walked through has been shaping you for it. Every detour had a lesson. Every loss had a seed. Every delay had a purpose, and now the time is drawing near, the time for fulfillment, for realization, for impact, and when that moment comes, when the season finally shifts and the curtain is pulled back, don't be surprised if it looks nothing like you imagine. Because God doesn't bless based on your vision board. He blesses based on his eternal plan, a plan that stretches far beyond what you can calculate, a plan that doesn't just include your comfort, but your character. Not just your success, but your soul. And when he opens the door, no man can shut it. When he says now, no delay can stand. When he moves, the earth responds. But he doesn't just prepare the blessing for you. He prepares you for the blessing. That's why it felt like waiting. That's why it felt like silence. That's why it felt like stretching. Because greatness requires grounding. You can't carry elevation with a fragile foundation. You can't walk in overflow with a divided heart. And so he cleansed you, he refined you, he separated you, not to hurt you, but to heal you, to grow you, to strengthen you for what's ahead. Because when God blesses, he doesn't just give you more. He makes you more. More wise, more discerning, more bold, more compassionate, more aware of your responsibility, because elevation without maturity becomes destruction. But elevation with alignment becomes destiny fulfilled. And make no mistake, the calling comes with a cost. The anointing will attract attacks. The favor will draw fire, but none of it can stop the one who knows who they walk with. So walk with your head high and your faith firm, not in arrogance, but in confidence. Confidence not in yourself, but in the one who goes before you, who stands behind you, who lives within you. Let people talk. Let critics critique. Let doubters doubt. But you keep building, keep sowing, keep believing, because the harvest doesn't come from applause. It comes from obedience. And you don't need a cheerleading section to do what you were born to do. You need clarity. You need consistency. You need conviction. And you need that quiet fire inside that says, even if no one else believes, I still will. Even if no one sees it yet, I still will. Because what's coming isn't just a reward, it's a result. A result of trusting when it didn't make sense, a result of worshiping when it hurt, a result of showing up when it was easier to give up. You're not lucky, you're planted, you're not random, you're rooted. And no storm can uproot what God himself has established. There will be days you feel tired, days you feel invisible, days you wonder if you're doing enough, if you're becoming enough. But don't let your feelings drive the ship. Let your faith steer it. Because feelings change, but God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the work he began in you, he's faithful to complete it. Every promise still stands. Every word he spoke over you still lives. Not one syllable of heaven falls to the ground void. It accomplishes what it was sent to do. It breaks chains. It opens doors. It shifts atmospheres. It births movements. It sustains the soul when nothing else can. So even now, if you're in a valley, remember this. Valleys grow things mountaintops never will. Valleys teach trust. They deepen roots. They clarify what matters. And the same God of the mountaintop is the God of the valley. He is not seasonal, he is not circumstantial, he is eternal, and he never fails. You may be in a chapter of becoming, but soon the chapter of revealing will arrive. The place you cried in will become the place you praise in. The weight you carried will become the testimony you share. The pain you endured will become the wisdom you impart. And the people who counted you out will have no choice but to witness what God counted you in for. But don't get caught up trying to prove them wrong. Stay focused on proving God right. He believed in you before anyone else did. He called you when no one else noticed. He whispered destiny when all you could hear was doubt. So now is not the time to get distracted by opinions. You're not living for applause. You're living for purpose. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. Every minute you spend comparing your journey to someone else's is a minute stolen from building your own. Don't let envy dilute your energy. Don't let insecurity silence your voice. Don't let fear shrink your reach. You have something the world needs, something heaven put inside you, something no one else can replicate. And it's time to release it, not when it's perfect, not when it's polished, but now, because your imperfections are not your disqualifiers. They are your proof that God uses the unlikely, proof that grace is real, proof that beauty can come from ashes, that victory can rise from defeat. And the truth is, some of your greatest impact will come from your greatest weakness. That thing you tried to hide, God will use it to heal others. That pain you never thought you'd survive, God will use it to empower others. That flaw you thought disqualified you, God will use it to connect with others, because it was never about perfection. It was about purpose. It was never about impressing. It was about influencing. You are a vessel, a light, a bridge, and your life is a living message. Every step forward, every act of faith, every moment of obedience is a page in the story that someone else needs to read. They don't need to see your strength. They need to see your surrender. They don't need your performance. They need your authenticity. And the truth is, your authenticity will break more chains than your perfection ever could. People aren't looking for flawless. They're looking for real struggle, real faith, real endurance. That's what ignites something in the soul. That's what wakes up the dreamers. That's what revives the weary. And when you show up as you are, God shows up as He is, faithful, present, mighty to save. That's why the enemy tried to silence you. That's why discouragement came like a flood. That's why the pressure almost made you quit. Because your voice, your story, your obedience, it's dangerous, dangerous to darkness, threatening to stagnancy, a beacon for those who have lost their way. And deep down you know it. You know you weren't made for shallow waters. You weren't created to play it safe. There's something wild in your spirit, something divine that refuses to die no matter how long it's been buried. A dream, a vision, a calling, and now it's time to dust it off. Time to stir it up, time to breathe life into what you thought was dead, because what felt like the end was really the beginning. What you called failure, God calls formation. What you called a setback, God calls a setup. Every no was protection. Every delay was preparation. Every disappointment was divine redirection. And all of it is working together for your good. But don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until the conditions are perfect. The Red Sea didn't part until Moses moved. The walls of Jericho didn't fall until Israel marched. The miracle doesn't come before the step of faith. It comes because of it. You may only have one step of clarity. Take it. You may only have 1 ounce of courage. Use it. You may only have one word in your heart. Speak it, because heaven responds to movement. Faith is not a concept, it's a current, and once you step in, you'll see the flow. And once you're in that flow, doors open without force, battles are won without burnout, connections form without manipulation, because grace does what grind never could. When you walk in divine alignment, things that used to exhaust you suddenly energize you. You stop striving and start flowing. You stop performing and start becoming. That's the power of trusting a God who never fails. He doesn't need your perfection. He needs your permission, permission to lead, permission to shape, permission to interrupt your plans with something far greater. And when you give Him access, He gives you authority, authority to walk into rooms you never thought you'd enter, authority to speak into lives you never thought you'd touch, authority to shift atmospheres by simply being who he made you to be. And yes, it may get lonely. The path of purpose often does, but you were not made to follow crowds. You were made to lead them. You were made to carve out new lanes, to break generational chains, to walk in a level of clarity and conviction that makes others uncomfortable. That's the cost of destiny. That's the price of the mantle you carry. But oh, the reward, the joy of knowing you're in the center of God's will, the peace that surpasses all understanding, the fulfillment that no applause or achievement can replace. That's what you're after, not popularity, purpose, not attention, assignment, and you have won, right here, right now. It's not someday, it's today, with what you have, where you are, as you are, because God never needed perfect conditions to move. He just needs a willing heart, one that says, "Yes, Lord, I'm scared, but I'll go. I'm uncertain, but I'll speak. I'm tired, but I'll keep building." That yes unlocks things you can't imagine. That yes makes angels move and giants fall. That yes will echo through generations, because obedience doesn't just bless you, it blesses everyone connected to you. Your children, your children's children, your circle, your city, your legacy. So keep going, keep building, keep believing, even if the progress is slow, even if you can't see the fruit yet, even if the mountain feels tall. Because faithfulness in the small creates capacity for the great. And before God trusts you with nations, he'll test you with now. How you steward this moment matters. How you show up when no one's watching matters. How you honor the quiet seasons matters, because the spotlight doesn't make you ready. It reveals if you are. And when God elevates you, it will be because you passed the private tests, the tests of character, of integrity, of humility. He's not looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for willing ones, and you've been chosen for such a time as this, not because you have it all together, but because he does. Not because you know the way, but because he is the way. So fix your eyes forward. Don't get distracted by what didn't work, who walked away, or how long it's taken. Redemption doesn't require explanation. Restoration doesn't consult your past. You're not behind. You're becoming. You're not late. You're right on time, and the author of your story hasn't left the pen. He's still writing, still weaving, still orchestrating the kind of ending that no man could take credit for. So now stand firm. Let every doubt be silenced by truth. Let every fear be crushed beneath the weight of unshakable faith. Let every lie that said you're not enough to solve in the light of the one who says you were always more than enough in his hands. You are not walking into your future alone. You are walking with the God who never sleeps, never stumbles, never fails. You've been called, chosen, and charged with purpose. It is time to stop shrinking and start shining. Time to stop hesitating and start advancing. Time to stop wondering if it will work out, and start declaring that it must, because God is in it. If he said it, he will do it. If he spoke it, he will fulfill it. Heaven and earth may pass away, but his word will never fail.